Modal verbs in German are small but have an important role in sentences. They help you express things like permission, ability, necessity, or a desire, like might, would. And you'll use these in everyday sentences. Using them correctly, though, will take your German to the next level. In this guide, we'll walk through what modal verbs are, how to structure sentences with them, and we'll look at each modal verb individually with clear examples. You can also download my guide on My Germanized Life and download the free reference cards in PDF. You can use them to conjugate modal verbs when you don't know how yet. So what are German modal verbs? Modal verbs, Modal Verben, are helping verbs that modify the main verb in a sentence. Think of them as little mood setters. Instead of saying, I eat, a modal verb says, I want to eat, I must eat, or I can eat. Let's look at the 6 most common modal verbs in German. Dürfen, to be allowed to. Können, to be able to. Mögen, to like. Müssen, should. Wollen, to want to. And we have the polite möchten, would like. This polite form is derived from mögen, but more common in everyday conversations. So let's dive into sentence structure using modal verbs. For your typical sentence structure, the modal verbs are conjugated and the main verb gets kicked to the end of the sentence in its infinitive form. For example, ich muss heute arbeiten. I have to work today. In this structure, we have the subject with the conjugated modal verb and the rest of the sentence, and at the end, the main verb in its infinitive form. It works the same way in questions and negations. For example, kannst du Deutsch sprechen? Can you speak German? Here we're starting with our modal verb, kannst du. It's conjugated, then our subject, du. Sprechen is in its infinitive form at the end of the sentence. Another example, ich will nicht tanzen. I don't want to dance. In the blog post that goes with this video, you'll get charts that show you conjugation patterns for each modal verb individually. So I suggest you check those out for a reference. So that was for the present tense, but what about the present perfect when we talk about the past tense? In perfect, the auxiliary verb is always haben or sein with the infinitive of the modal and main verb. For example, dürfen, to be allowed to. Use dürfen when talking about permission. For example, darf ich hier parken? May I park here? Kinder dürfen kein Alkohol trinken. Children aren't allowed to drink alcohol. Du darfst das nicht machen. You're not allowed to do that. So after dürfen, we have können, to be able to or can. This one expresses ability or possibility. Kannst du mir helfen? Can you help me? Wir können morgen gehen. We can go tomorrow. Our next modal verb is mögen, to like. Mögen is a bit tricky because it refers to liking things or people, but not actions. Let's look at a few examples. I like chocolate. Here you're liking a thing, the chocolate. Sie mag Katzen mehr als Hunde. She likes cats more than dogs. The same, we have nouns here. But what if you want to say you like doing something? Then you would use gern with the verb instead. For example, ich koche gern. I like cooking instead of ich mag kochen. Our next verb is möchten, would like. This is technically a subjunctive form of mögen, but it's basically its own polite verb. For example, ich möchte einen Kaffee bitte. I'd like a coffee, please. Here, when we're making a request, möchten makes it more polite and less demanding. Another example is, möchtest du mitkommen? Would you like to come along? This expression is super useful in restaurants and in social settings. Our next verb is müssen, to have to. Use müssen for obligations or necessities. For example, ich muss morgen früh aufstehen. I have to get up early tomorrow. And notice that here we have a separable prefix verb, aufstehen. If you didn't catch that video last week on separable prefix verbs, you can watch it here later. Our next example is, du musst das Formular ausfüllen. You must fill out the form. Or, wir müssen noch einkaufen. We still have to go shopping. Our next verb is sollen. Sollen means should or supposed to. Sollen often expresses something you're expected or advised to do. For example, ich soll mehr Wasser trinken. I'm supposed to drink more water. Here we have soll in the second position of the sentence. Then trinken, our infinitive form of the verb at the end of the sentence. Our next example, was soll ich tun? What should I do? We have our question word, was, then our conjugated modal verb soll, and tun in its infinitive form at the end of the sentence. Our next example is, du sollst deine Hausaufgaben machen. You should do your homework. Our next modal verb is wollen. Use wollen to express strong intention or desire. For example, ich will ein Eis. I want an ice cream. This is very demanding. If you want to be polite, say, ich möchte ein Eis. Another example is, wir wollen nach Berlin fahren. We want to drive to Berlin. Or, willst du mitkommen? Do you want to come along? And just a heads up, wollen can sound a bit demanding if you're not careful with your tone. In a polite situation, möchten is going to be the better option. Let's wrap things up with some final tips for using modal verbs in German. Modal verbs always come second in a statement. The main verb goes to the end in its infinitive form. This is for present tense. In past tense, use haben plus past participle of the modal verb, or switch to an alternative phrasing. For example, in the past, you could say, ich habe nicht gehen können. I wasn't able to go. Habe is conjugated in second, then comes our verb gehen, the main verb, and last is the modal verb, können. Follow the link in the description below to get this lesson complete with conjugation charts at mygermanizedlife.com. You can also download and print free modal verbs reference charts in a handy PDF file. We'll see you next time, German learners. Auf Wiedersehen!